Welcome everybody to another edition of Hot Program. I am your host with the most, all the way from the East Coast, and as always, good people, I am in airplane mode. And now a man who, if he ever became a Catholic, would want to go to Holy Mary Heart Cross Cathedral. uh, how you doing today, my one black friend?
I'm okay, Pocket Locker. Good to see you. How are you?
I'm good. I'm good. Let's get into it. So we've
All
only
right.
we want to keep the timing kind of tight today, and we definitely have an important topic to get into. So we have established a new movement of atheism. It is called unapologetic atheism. The idea is we are not we're done with new atheism that they all turned out to be a bunch of neocons who are weirdos. And then there's this new analytical atheism that is the Alex O'Connor brand, where we sit down with Christianity and we tell them how beautiful their stories are, and we just love to engage in the intellectual debates about the intellectual merits of Christianity. And many of us are culturally Christian because even though we don't believe, we find the stories just so beautiful and wonderful and
Somewhat.
inspiring. No, we're done with all of that. We are unapologetic atheism. We are no longer afraid of our own shadows. We're not apologizing for not believing in fairy tales or evil deities. And so part of that is we are trying to strike while the iron is hot, and the idea is Christianity has to go down with Trump. And so that's the mission around here. It's not it's Christianity's on a its time is expiring, and it's serious. It's America needs to reckon with what Christianity has brought us, and stop pretending that this isn't the product of Christianity. And and
So you,
and
for you, this is the extinction burst of the Christian religion.
and
Okay.
it needs to be, because again, if you look at what Christianity has done in Trumpism, the the idea that we should somehow not address the elephant in the room so that Christians can do this to us again, or the idea that we should not go after Christianity over MAGA. Fine, don't go after Christianity over MAGA if you don't want to, but then you got America First coming right behind it. You know, the alt right now is stuck between MAGA and America First, and for those that don't know which camps are which, MAGA is
They're
the
the same,
well, technically, this MAGA is the pro
basically.
Benjamin Netanyahu wing of conservatism, whereas America First is actually the pro Hitler wing of the alt right.
Look at the tactics. Look at the tactics of Netanyahu versus Hitler. That's
It
all
could
I gotta say. It's the same.
no, I
It's
mean
the
it
same.
is the same. It is the same to us, but that's the distinction without a difference that we're dealing with. My point is just things can always get worse, and if people don't want to address the elephant in the room and deal with Christianity in relation to MAGA, fine, we'll get another opportunity with America First. And yes, things can get even more worse, especially if the alt right is won by the even more explicitly Nazi wing of the party, right? The current MAGA movement is the "don't call us Nazis" version, whereas the America First movement is like, yeah, we're Nazis. What seems to be the problem? All right, but let's jump into today's topic, because it's just another instance of this going on this week, and in this case, it's this stuff where Megyn Kelly, on behalf of MAGA, has decided to, kind of defend Trump. And I think we need to listen to what she says, because to be honest, what she says is really emblematic of the Christian right and Christianity more general. I think people need to realize the Virgin Mary was not of age. By any estimation in modern times, you're talking about a 12 to 15-year-old. You're talking about a scared girl. And you have to remember that, like, what we do in current society, where we say, you know, yes, you can marry somebody much younger, but they need to, like, in most cases, be an adult. Like, that's very modern, and that has not been the case throughout most of human history. And it certainly has not been the case throughout most religious text. And if you look at who are the people that are constantly trying to lower the age of consent, and who are the people who are constantly literally trying to pass legislation to legalize child marriage,
Yeah, scary.
it's always conservative Christians. And I know there's a lot of liberal Christians out there and progressive Christians. By the way, but all those terms are oxymorons. I'm just gonna go ahead and put it out there to you. Like, Christianity is inherently the desire to be a slave. There's never been a progressive movement led by a traditional faith. So people just need to stop gaslighting themselves. But the reality is, even if you are more liberal or more progressive than these super hardcore right wingers, you have to acknowledge that your liberal Christianity has fucking failed. It has done absolutely nothing to keep the worst inclinations of these people at bay. It has done absolutely nothing to give us some sort of moral clarity or religious revival. So you just have to acknowledge that, yes, liberal and progressive and all these other Christians, like, fine, y'all may not be this bad. Y'all may not be burning LGBTQ people at the stake. You may genuinely believe women have earned the right to vote and, should be considered equals in marriage. Most of y'all don't believe that, but some of y'all do. That's fine. And I get it. Like, you don't think children should get married. Like, you recognize marriage is hard. Many of y'all got married young, and we think, heck, a lot of us think as young adults we're too young to get married, right? A lot of us got married in our 20s or our 30s. It turned out to still be too young to really handle a marriage for real. But you also have to acknowledge that this element exists within your religion. It's super duper mainstream. It's super duper common, and you have no response to it because effectively this is sort of what I believe that the culture produces. All right, but let's go ahead and let's not tease the people. Let's show the people.
Locker,
Go ahead.
mention this? Can you mention this guy's channel name?
Oh, I don't even know who this is. I guess this guy's name is Philip DeFranco.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, I don't really watch him. I kind of went looking for this Megyn Kelly clip, and the other clip I saw was like John Oliver, and I was like, I don't know if I want to play that. It's just more likely to
a lot of people clipped this
copyright
clip.
Chuck. Yeah, a lot of people clipped this, but I think this Philip DeFranco guy is all right. I've seen most of his stuff. He seems all right, but I don't know too much about him. Do you watch him?
His shorts used to come up a lot on my feed. Yeah.
Okay. All right, well, yeah, let's go ahead and play this clip.
Megyn Kelly appears to have just questioned if Jeffrey Epstein's really even a pedophile, and people are pissed off.
I do know somebody very, very close to this case who is in a position to know virtually everything. That Jeffrey Epstein, in this person's view, was not a pedophile. This is this person's view, who was there for a lot of this, but that he was into the barely legal type. Like, he liked 15-year-old girls. And I realize this is disgusting. I'm definitely not trying to make an excuse for this. I'm just giving you facts.
But she is. And she literally just said he's into 15-year-olds. Let's just be clear about what she said. She said he's into 15-year-olds. She said it very clearly.
That he wasn't into like 8-year-olds.
Wow,
he liked
what a guy.
The very young teen types.
With Megyn, one, saying she didn't believe Epstein was a pedophile for a long time because of this, and two, that it wasn't until the DOJ said that they found child sex abuse materials on his computer that she changed her mind.
I mean, only a pedophile gets off on young children abuse videos. We have yet to see anybody come forward and say, I was a...
Okay, I got to keep it a little real with y'all right now. This is just such a weird rabbit hole to go down, but the idea of, like, first off, well, there's no evidence that he got off on pornography of like 8-year-old. I mean, and it's almost like she's setting this up because at some level with all of this going on, she's well aware that it will likely come out that there were very sexually explicit things done and pictures taken or maybe some pornography or whatever. And so she's got to set this up and be like, well, there's no evidence that he really enjoyed getting off on 10-year-olds or right. Like she's really making this carve out here. The other thing is I could tell you as a normal fucking human being who's like a regular person, this means nothing, right? Like most people understand that you might have some erotic content, you might enjoy some pornography or whatever it is, but for a lot of people, what's considered sort of a healthy sex life is, you make sure that you still prefer real partners, right? That you still prefer,
Adults.
sex in real life, right? Matter of fact, if you really look into what when is pornography considered an addiction? When is it considered really harmful? Right? A lot of psychologists are going to relate it to your regular sex life, right? So if like you watch porn when you're alone or whatever, but you're still interested in having sex when you're dating or with your significant other, they're like, fine, right? It's when you're watching so much porn that you're no longer interested in normal life, that's when people get weirded out. What is my point in saying all of this, y'all? Most of us understand if we can have access to what we want in real life, we may not watch porn. A lot of married men don't watch any porn. They're like, I have a wife. When I need to make love, as long as my wife also wants to make love, we're good to go.
Yeah.
So the accusation is that these men were sleeping with children. Why are you talking to us about their porn habits? None of us care if like, they weren't watching teenage porn. It's cool that they were having sex with them in real life. Like what type of, what are you saying? Like why would you even go down that path? Like it's such a weird, it's like, do you not understand that this is a child sex ring? This is about screwing the children. It's not about filming the children. Like what? I gotta hear this again. What is she?
Gets off on young children abuse videos. We have yet to see anybody come forward and say,
14-year-old is a young child.
I was under
That is
10.
a young
you can
child.
It's a young child. Yeah. And there's like, oh, well, they didn't get off they don't get off on 8-year-old videos, so that's supposed to make all this okay.
say that's a distinction without a difference.
No, it's not.
It is.
I think there is a difference.
Yeah.
So in general, people have just kind of been horrified by this, including people on the right who follow her. Or because Epstein is a convicted child sex offender, and even though she kind of walks it back, people found it absurd to try to downplay his crimes or throw out any argument in any context suggesting that he wasn't a pedophile. Or with some also saying that, 15 is not barely legal, it's factually illegal, and arguing that it's gross to act like there's a difference. And you had others thinking that it felt like she was trying to soft launch the acceptance of pedophilia or trying to lower how it's defined. Right? Many feeling whiplash because in the past, while on the Today Show, she talked about how teenagers are clearly under the age of consent. So why is she questioning this now? But for now, let me know your thoughts, opinions.
Because of Trump in power, all of these people flipped. Me and PC have a good laugh, just reminding people that QAnon was right. They got
just right about the wrong people.
Yeah, they got some of the details wrong. They got a few of the details wrong, but QAnon was right. The government's hiding pedophiles. Government is absolutely hiding pedophiles. So, and again,
they have elected one.
I think they clearly elected one, and they clearly elected a rapist. They clearly elected a felon. They clearly elected an insurrectionist. And so this is what I mean. Like, this is why Christianity has to go down with Trump, because this is all Christians do, and nobody wants to say that. We all want to tiptoe around the issue. We want to really talk about, well, it's the conservatives. It's like who's conservative in this country? Who is conservative in this country, y'all? It's the Christians, and you know that. And every single election, my whole life, but I could go ask my mama, she gonna tell me the same thing. I could go ask my grandparents, they're gonna tell me the same thing. These conservatives have always hidden behind their religion, right? It was when they wanted to do racism and they couldn't do segregation, that's when they switched to abortion. Everybody that knows the history of the fucking abortion movement in this country understands conservatives did not care about abortion.
I have a question for you, Pocket Locker. Did I send you, maybe it was on Instagram, could have been YouTube, the video of a woman talking about the foster care system and how she felt that the Christian right was trying to funnel more kids by protesting abortion into the foster care system because kids are often trafficked out of the foster care system.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah. Now I don't know where she gets her
Now
facts and figures from,
that's,
if those are indeed facts, but
that's, I wouldn't put it past some actors at a very high level to have goals or strategies like that. I think a lot of these are deeply sick people. But I would say I'd have to see some really strong evidence to convince me that that's a motivation of the base, because the base is too stupid to think that far ahead. And the base is just a bunch of dumb Christians. And really you just appeal to dumb Christians with like moral panic. And so I think they brought into the moral panic about, murdering babies. And then also you got to remember that abortion was considered a very Catholic issue for most Americans, and Catholics were considered liberals. So evangelicals really did not care
Well, but
until
we can agree
until the schools were desegregated.
with Catholicism, they have a bit of a shadow cast on their faith from all the abuse that's known to come out of the Catholic Church.
But
Right? Whether it's
Go
women,
ahead.
nuns having babies, and then those babies being buried outside of the nunnery or somewhere on church grounds by the hundreds.
Wow, I
Right?
never thought about that. I didn't hear anything about that. That's
Oh
crazy.
yeah,
We should definitely cover that. That's
and
wild.
then children that go into their care that maybe were like Native Americans or First Nations. I don't know what the current term is. And then some of them, by the hundreds, maybe ended up dead and buried and never got to go home to their families. So obviously there are problems, and to put it way too lightly, there are problems with religion trying to manage things and it doing so poorly.
Because
As far as passing out turkeys and Christmas gifts at Christmas time, an excellent job could be. We could praise many churches for doing an excellent job with that.
I don't think they should do
Okay,
it. I think they
you
should.
don't, but I
I
can.
think they should. I
There,
think they should stop
but
doing that.
that doesn't mean that there aren't significant problems elsewhere that get little attention
Right.
within the church, be that the Catholic Church or otherwise other congregations.
But I would, and just to be clear though, I would argue that's why. I would argue that exactly right there, you literally just hit on it, which is because they're passing out turkeys, because they're passing out book bags, because they're running the soup kitchen. That is what provides the permissive structure for everybody to overlook all the abuses. And I know that as people, especially because look, I'm a humanist. I want people to have good things. So it's very difficult for me to see somebody giving a person in need a meal or a turkey or shelter or food or money or anything, and to say I don't want that happening, because it sounds like what I'm saying is I don't want those who are less fortunate to be given turkeys. No, what I'm saying is I don't want those who are less fortunate to be given turkeys by those who are using giving out turkeys as an avenue to
the mess they're
power.
leaving.
Yeah, or to wash their reputation clean of the lies that they're spreading and what they're really doing that is so harmful to the community. Basically, the same way most of us would not feel good if a bunch of used car salesmen were passing out turkeys around Thanksgiving. We would recognize that there's kind of a nefarious intent behind it. And if those cars were really so reliable, why do you need to give us turkeys? But we don't do that with people of faith. And also, I wish, and this is something I need every Christian to hear, just give out the turkeys. Just give out the book bags. Just give the things, but no advertisement. Don't even tell people where it came from. Don't say this came from St. Anthony's Church at 45 Broadway Avenue, and our services start at 10 and 1 p.m. on Sundays. Don't do that. Don't give out Bibles. Don't proselytize. Don't pray for anybody. Just drop off the turkeys. That should be actually the standard that we set, especially as public institutions. Like, yeah, because I've seen this. This is how they get around the church-state separation too, because it's like, oh, this is a public school. It's a state-run school. There's supposed to be a separation of church and state. Oh, but look at all these really nice church people. They brought us book bags and da-da-da-da. And so that's how you get the little bit of proselytizing into our public schools. And I've been part of churches that operate out of public schools. So to me, I would be way more impressed if they would just give the gifts, do the charity, but no proselytizing, no advertising, no even letting people know where it comes from. And Christians, before you complain, that's what the rest of us do. Right? When the rest of us take something to the Salvation Army or whatever, they don't make a log and put a plaque up and tell everybody where it came from. The rest of us, if I'm just sitting in traffic and somebody, I see an unhoused person and they looking for change, and I reach in my pocket and I say, all I got is this 10, and I throw it in the cup. I don't tell them my name. I don't tell them where I work. I don't advertise. I don't say, oh, this is the college I work at. This is on behalf of the college. Make sure you tell your nieces and nephews to enroll with us next semester. We don't do that. We just give them the gifts and we go on about our day.
It would be, you say that, and I'm probably going to start laughing. I think that's an excellent point, because when I give to the Salvation Army bell ringer, I don't actually talk about myself when I do it.
Yeah, you don't slip them a business card.
Here's the $3, $5 or whatever I got. By the way, my name is My One Black Friend. I'm active on the following YouTube channel.
Yeah.
Please like and subscribe.
But that's what they do. And here's the sad part. If we came up with that rule and we said you can give whatever you want, you just can't label it, you can't mark it, you can't advertise, you can't proselytize, they wouldn't give anything.
But isn't this what Jesus is saying?
Those drives would disappear overnight.
This is a parable of Jesus, where there's the woman who puts her 2 mites in, and that's what she can afford, right?
To give, yeah.
And she doesn't make a big deal out of how righteous she is and how much she's giving or anything. She quietly gives her money, and it's not a big affair to the outside world. It's meaningful to her,
right?
But it's not a big affair to the outside world. So I think you make a pretty good point there.
But tell me this: do you agree with me that if we made that the rule, most of them would stop? Because
I want to mobilize our audience, to mobilize their friends and family to do the same thing. So this is the time of giving.
Mm-hmm.
So
it's the time of year.
You give so much as a quarter, make sure you do a commercial for yourself when you do it. And just let us know if the person that you handed the money to felt it was very odd of you to do that. I'm definitely going to try to get a video of me giving someone like $1 or $2, one of those bell ringers, and promoting the show. By the way, watch Hot Programs Sundays around 1:00 Eastern time.
Yeah, well, look, here's the thing. So that woman just did, maybe we should cover that at some point. That woman just did that social experiment, because I wanted to cover do a stream called, churches don't help people. And that's what you found.
Pocket Locker, some people won't know what you're referring to.
So I'm referring to the woman who did the social experiment where she's got this fake crying baby in the background. Awesome. Such a sweet touch. And she's calling all these churches and she's like, hey, like my baby's hungry and the government just snatched up the SNAP benefits. So, do y'all have some baby formula maybe you could help me out with, or maybe you could get some baby formula and I could come get it or whatever. And these churches their brains just fried. They started tap dancing and reaching. Well, see, have you tried this other place? Did you call the shelter? Did you try this? Well, see, we don't have anything like that here. I mean, right now it's just like they didn't know. And it was interesting though. The Islamic Center helped, and 100%, one of the Buddhist
100%
temples
the
helped.
Buddhists 100%, 100% of the Buddhists, which I could have chosen that anyway. The Buddhists probably would have said, when can we drop it off?
Yeah,
and I wouldn't have doubted it.
They were like, we've been waiting for your call.
Said the same thing, like, the Buddhists, we've been waiting for your call. We'll send a caravan of people with various kinds of help. What other help do you need? That's probably from the standpoint of what the churches should say. What everyone with the ability to say should say. What else do you need?
Yes. And here's what's so interesting about that too. Those same churches will be giving out turkeys and toys this holiday season, acting like that never happened. And this is what I mean, because that's the standard thing, right? For most of those churches, they might even bring it up, right? And that'll help their congregation cope with that story. They'll say like, oh, you heard that witch woman try to manipulate us with that fake thing where there wasn't even a real baby, but she didn't stay around to see us passing out all these real turkeys and these real toys this holiday season. Like, they will literally use that to say there's nothing to see here.
No.
Look how charitable we are. Aren't we so great?
She stormed in the room. She's learning to walk. So in a way, this is about you, my dear. Yeah. So who could deny formula to this faith?
Yeah.
Who?
Yeah.
And yet there are people who could do it. From the standpoint of what the Bible would have to say about this, to these, the rebuke, right? The gentle
Yeah.
rebuke to these churches who didn't want to pony something up. It's, the Bible doesn't divide the various churches into congregations that are so separate, right? Only in Revelation and in the epistles are letters written to certain congregations. It's not that what's being said to one isn't news for all of them, right? Isn't guidance for all of them. So if they are all one in the body of Christ, the fact that this woman is calling at all, any church needs to have the proper response, right? It can't be and I can call Jesus out on this one. When a woman who wasn't a Hebrew asks him for help to cure her daughter, he calls her a dog. Now, I can get into literary reasons for that. If you read the Sermon on the Mount, you'll make the connection. But he helps her. Regardless, she's not part of his core group that he's trying to rescue out there. He still helps her.
Yeah, but
wasn't
he
this
calls her a
long
dog, but he
process.
calls her a dog first. I mean, like,
I don't give him a pass on that. I don't give him a pass on that. Again, I think he's a completely fictional character.
sure.
Fictional character.
Sure.
But I don't give him a pass on that.
But you think that, so you think that story was just to say he had to recognize her dogness in the culture of the time, but then that allowed her to challenge him and to his humanity, and then he gives to her anyway. So in other words, it's a parable, and him calling her a dog, not that we're excusing it, but before the point of the story was to recognize this status difference that he's then going to overlook to be charitable.
As an example, right?
So it was written poorly, basically.
Even Jesus himself has to recognize that he has the ability to fulfill someone's needs, and he should do it.
Okay, now going off of that, I want to say this, and I want people to hear me clearly. This doesn't apply to all churches. Matter of fact, I worked at a church where this would have been handled just fine. We would not have been part of this story, or we would have been with the Buddhist in the Islamic temple. Here's the difference. We were a community church, meaning we really tied everything we did at that church to the local community. We were in urban Newark, New Jersey. We were between two housing projects. We were in a community where we did after school programming, and we worked with the schools, and we did the PTA. So we did all this stuff. We did the soup kitchens. We did the AA. Like, all that stuff happened in our church. Our church was basically a community center because there was no other community center in the church. And so, number one, we did have a food pantry, and people came in all the time when they needed stuff. But I think the bigger difference is that our mentor, who ran most of the programming, who was the youth pastor, Pastor Danny, who was my mentor, he would have expected all of us to just do it. If you look at the couple churches that did do it, they didn't have food pantries like we did. Like, we could have just gone in the pantries and said, do we have any baby food? And if we don't, we should. So somebody should go to the store and get some and then bring some to this person. But the churches that did do it were churches where, like, the pastor or whoever answered and was like, oh, what do you need? Like, yeah, like, we don't have that on hand, but like, I'll go get it for you. And, either you can meet me here or where do you want to meet? And I'll bring it to you. And that's the bigger point, is that it shouldn't be about the church. It shouldn't be about the church policy. It shouldn't be about what the church has on hand. If you as a Christian get a phone call and somebody needs baby formula on the other end of that phone call, you go get them baby formula. And that's why I said our church would have handled it fine. Not just because we had the food pantry, not just because we had those resources available, but because we were taught that our whole purpose being here is to meet the needs of this community. And we would have got chewed out if our pastor found out that somebody called for baby formula and we didn't just go get it. It wouldn't have been about a policy or having, it would have just been somebody in this community called you, told you they needed something, go get it and bring it to them. Like that. Mm-hmm. So there are churches that are like that. And I want to acknowledge that, but I want to say that like the point of this is that that's not the common response, right? And so it's so important that we don't use the couple of churches that did it right to overlook the fact that most aren't. And further to acknowledge the bigger point, which again is why Christianity needs to go down with Trump, we have to realize that that world is not the world we want to live in. And I feel the same way about celebrities. And I don't care how progressive, liberal, or communist the damn celebrities are. We don't want to live in a world where we depend on charity. Because then we're subject to the whims of, well, does this church feel like doing charity, or does this church not feel like charity, or does this celebrity care about your disease? Because if you don't have the disease that this celebrity cares about, then you're not going to get the $5 million donation. Like, we have to realize that is totally uncivilized to me. What does it mean to be a civilization? A civilization means you're supposed to be born into a certain social contract. And in 2025, that contract should include food, shelter, education, probably a universal basic income, because we do still live in a capitalist society and you need money to buy things, and like free college, and we could keep going. But those should be the bare minimums of a civilization. So I'm sorry, Christians, but I hate to say this, but the fact that you're still giving out turkeys and giving out toys, and the fact that we still need all of this charity, means we have failed to create the better world that we should all live in. And by you getting so excited about your opportunity to meet those needs and to use meeting those needs as advertisement for your proselytizing, you are failing to actually help us create the kind of world that we really want to live in, where that's not necessary, because people have enough to eat. Please do.
So I like what you just said. Instead of the feeling of righteousness coming from being the one who steps in and meets the needs of others while taking care of yourself, God's supposed to look after you, but obviously you want to take care of yourself to some degree. The real way people have been taught to feel they are being righteous is through the persecution narrative, not the giving narrative, not the loving narrative, not the meeting the needs of others narrative. Those have lost out to somebody doesn't like how I practice my faith. I must be doing it right. I must be aggravating Satan. He leaves the people who are firmly in his clutches alone. So now he's out there picking on me, right? It's a shame.
Yeah.
That is the case, that the persecution narrative has more value to the faith of a person than their ability to meet those needs and send people away feeling whole and encouraged and happy. Weird.
And then again, why don't they really want to create that world with us? Why is it that every time I say universal basic income, free healthcare, free education, eliminate student debt, why do people keep saying socialism? Why do people want to call me a communist for saying those things? And look, let me just be clear. I don't have a problem being called the socialist or communist. I often call myself those things. But why would you demonize people who just say we want nice things? And there's again two things I want Christians to think very carefully about. Number one, what does that really say about your faith? What it really says to me is that you pass on every opportunity to actually create that world, because at some level you recognize that I hate to say this, but you kind of like that dominant position. You kind of like there being these unmet needs at a huge societal level that you can then on an interpersonal or on a small organization base meet and then feel really inflated about your ego rather than simply just supporting us living in a better world. The other thing I want you to think of is other places do this. There are other
countries,
European countries, particularly European countries known for being some you at least according to Christians, they say they're pretty atheistic countries. Or sometimes they say they're at least countries that, they don't really put religion to the forefront. But they're providing a much more elevated social contract for their citizens because, again, they're civilized. And even get this, there are even Islamic states. Yes, gang, I said the two most dangerous words in America, Islamic states that are doing these things in their countries. So it's kind of embarrassing that the Christian right wants to keep reminding us every day that this is a Christian country, which I'm more willing to concede than most atheists. Actually, I think you guys are running the show. I do think this is a Christian country. But then, if I were to really rank this Christian country on its humanity scale, it's falling far behind atheistic and Islamic states. And I just want Christians to think about that. That you're kind of poor at advertising. All right, let me let him go, and then we'll respond to what he's saying. But you're saying you don't think this is a Christian I think both sides are wrong about it, but for wrong reasons.
Because I've read the Bible. I don't think it's Christian at all. Because that healthcare you talked about, that free healthcare, you'd have it. And in fact, if the Bible was right, we'd see Christians walking around laying hands on people and healing them for real. Because that's what it promises. That's not what's delivered in real life. In the real world, people don't have that ability. If two Christians pray about something, right, it's basically the will of God at that point. That's not what we see. Otherwise, there'd be no wars, there'd be no poverty, there'd be no hunger, right? All that would have been taken care of centuries ago, and we wouldn't see it today. Instead, Jesus says, love the poor. You'll always have them. They will always be with you.
So right? My thing
They're
is
always going to be poor people. That's not optimism, Jesus. Where's your faith?
Yeah, and there doesn't need to be poor people, especially not in the richest country in the world. And again, I just think it is Christians doing this to us. So I think both sides of this are wrong, but for the wrong reasons. So I think when a lot of people say, when believers say that this is a Christian country, I think they are trying to lay claim to it being an explicitly Christian country in the creation of its institutions. And they are wrong in the sense that it was clearly created as a secular nation with secular institutions. But I think that when a lot of people on the other side say that it's not a Christian country, I think they're being naive as well. Because if you do look at the establishment of this country, it is really only landowning white Christian men that were intended to be enfranchised, basically.
Well, they were,
and then if you look
they weren't all Christian. They were largely deists. They might have believed in a god of some kind, but not necessarily the biblical God.
Sure, true, but a lot of them were, right, and I think true. Yeah, and a lot of and then a lot of the colonies were like explicitly religious in their
colonies could be religious,
yeah,
and at each other's throats.
Yeah,
that they're not practicing the right brand of Christianity, which is shocking. Like, how could it matter so much? But it did.
Yeah. And then over most of this country's history, like there's a reason in social sciences classes we teach students about WASP, the term white Anglo-Saxon Protestant, because the history of this country is that's who was in power and that's who was enfranchised. And so, and then if you look at who gets elected and the fact that everybody swears it on the Bible, in other words, there's a certain real cultural and social dominance of Christianity that if it were to take that form anywhere else in the world, we would largely associate that country with that religion. You know what I mean? So my thing is just, I think we need to acknowledge how dominant Christianity is in American life. And I think we need to do that so we can take away that dominance. But I think it's going to be difficult if we just keep telling ourselves, well, it's not a Christian country, it's not a Christian country, it's not a Christian country. I don't think that helps us in the analysis of understanding the ways in which it is clearly a Christian country, and Christians tend to steer the ship, even if it's not supposed to be that way on paper. All right, let's keep going here so we can get out of here on time.
Sunday morning, it's about 9:15 West Coast time. I've just been thinking yesterday and this morning, last night, if there's any takeaway from the last couple of years, few years of American politics, American whatever, it's that Republican, evangelical, white men who support Donald Trump overwhelmingly want to have sex with other men and with children. And that Republican women like Megyn Kelly are fine with the second part as long as those children have gone through puberty. I mean, think about that. We elected a president who was accurately described as a federal judge as being a rapist. And he was a convicted felon. And he was sued in 2016 by a young woman named Katie Johnson, who had some supporting affidavits, witness affidavits, who said that Donald Trump sexually assaulted her at Jeffrey Epstein's home in Manhattan when she was 13 because she looked exactly like Ivanka.
How gross.
And these are the people who, during that entire last decade, have been saying that we have to protect children from drag queens and the LGBTQ community and elementary school teachers who are going to forcibly change their genders and give them gender reassignment surgery at school. It's a lot to process. It's a lot to process. I mean, Fox News isn't even covering this latest Epstein document dump. They're not even talking about it. I'm sure their viewers have no idea that it even happened.
Just quickly to say, neither are many Christian apologists, and it's the silence is deafening.
Okay,
the silence is deafening.
I want to see video. Maybe that's a good question for Frank Turek. You got videos on this, buddy?
Yeah.
Can you take a pause from
Yeah.
slamming non-believers for a minute to comment on this? There's what's that guy's last name? Is it Christie?
Because I hate to say
Anyway,
this.
but-
I hate to say this. This is just a church sex scandal cover-up playing out in the government, and these people are trained. They know how to behave in these situations. They learned it in the church. In the church is where they learn to lambast about morality and sexual deviance and everybody's a predator and sin. And then when the pastor gets caught up doing them same things he's been preaching about every Sunday, silence, close ranks, circle the wagons, make sure, this doesn't hurt the church. Pastor, we forgive you. Pastor's just a man. He's just a fallen messenger. Like, they know how to do this. And this prepared them. It trained them. It gave them the script. It gave them the playbook. And now that they're doing Christofascism, which is literally code for make the government an extension of the church, they know how to handle this. So that's what I see. I see Christianity just literally being the explanation of why they're this way, and nobody wants to say it, but it's so obvious. How can you? Go ahead.
I don't think it's the explanation. I think that's unfair.
Really?
Yes, I do. What we have in Christianity is there's a system where a person could be forgiven for doing what's wrong, And the adherence to that same faith are supposed to be the first line of people doing the forgiving,
Interesting.
right? So I've said this, and you have said it too, to some degree, maybe not so plainly as I'm about to say it. Christianity is essentially a doormat for people to wipe their sins on. They can commit any kind of abhorrent behavior they want to and say, yeah, but I'm saved and I just sinned. So I'm just going to ask God for his forgiveness or ask Jesus for forgiveness, as if that's supposed to make everything okay with the
Yeah, and
people
that's the
there.
matter of fact. I would say that that's
That's
the plan.
horrifying.
Most of them preemptively do it. Most of them,
I do think there's a number of people that,
yeah,
yes,
they
Papa
know
Lock, I think
before
that's
they
their MO.
sin. Yeah, I'm just gonna have to ask God for a little forgiveness real quick. It's
But
gonna
those are
be.
rotten people. Without Christianity, they'd be the same way. Christianity isn't making them better. It's just a justification for doing it and then for expecting other people to think it was okay, right? The Lord works in mysterious ways. Like I've challenged people who are believers. Look, why do clergy commit all these sex crimes? Why? It's not all clergy. No, that would be horrible to say, but some do. Like there's probably a significant statistical amount that do. And I I don't remember seeing a sermon get major promotions and going through my algorithm where there's some priest decrying this, some minister decrying it.
They
It's got to
know
be
it's
out there
about the
somewhere.
access. I think you make a good point. I just think this is for me it feels obvious that they go into the same mode that they go into with church cover up. I do get the forgiveness angle. It's just that that's again, I think religion's such bullshit. It's so selectively weaponized. I remember playing some of that what's the word I'm looking for? Rapture talk content for my students
Hmm.
this year, and the people that were the most upset about it, of course, were the Christian students, and they were upset because these people were being, bad Christians and whatever. And I remember when like one of the content creators like came back after the rapture didn't happen and like apologized. It was immediately a Christian student that spoke up and was like, "Nah, I don't forgive him. Nope, nope." He just like he like it was like nope. He made us look bad. I think Christians,
He
for
made
instance,
them look bad.
yeah,
He
because
doesn't
here's
forgive him
so
for
so
that.
but so
Wait till he reads the Bible.
think about how it's weaponized selectively. So if Joe Biden had done any of this, do you think there would have been talk of forgiveness? When you read about Hunter Biden, did anybody say, well, yeah, he had like an addiction problem in the past and he survived it, and it would be really tough if my kid went through something like that. I think we should stop bringing this up because he's clearly trying to get his life together and be a decent person. In other words, forgiveness is something that is utilized when it's their side. Of course, then we're all sinners and forgiveness needs to happen. But when somebody Christians considered to be an enemy or an opponent messes up, there's no forgiveness. If even somebody had some of this stuff like way in their past, like I just nah, I don't. I guess I just think Christians use forgiveness when it's convenient and not when it's not. And I don't know the calculus for each individual, but I do think that
Mhm.
that's a valid perspective. I do think like I could see that being the rationale for some people. People do give Trump the kind of flawed agent of God rationale. I could see that fitting into there. Let him play the rest of this so we can wrap up.
Sure.
And in the 20,000 plus pages of documents that we got this week, primarily email communications, the name that appears in there the most times in those documents is Trump. But straight white
Oh, hang on real quick.
Republican.
We got a $2 super chat from Robin. I meant to read before. Let me go back to that. She said Trump and Christians sharing whole, I think. Let me see if I could find that and put it back up. There we go. Trump and Christianity shared whole. Yeah, we're trying 86-47. I get it. That's the part I missed. 86-47. Trump and Christianity shared whole. Yeah, let's bury them together. That's exactly the game plan, Robin. Love it.
Evangelical men who support Donald Trump
Thank you so much, Robin.
overwhelmingly seem to want to have sex with other men and with children. The children part, they paint it in terms of religion and, red states, age of consent laws, and child marriage laws. Old white Republican men want to marry 13, 14, 15-year-old girls. I've never seen a clamoring among Republican women demanding that they be entitled to legally marry 14 or 15-year-old boys. It's only the guys.
That's a good point.
The same guys who want to marry teenage girls crashed Grindr, the gay hookup app, when they landed in Milwaukee over a year ago for the Republican National Convention.
They're always crashing Grindr.
And they almost crashed Grindr in Phoenix a couple months ago when they all showed up there for a funeral, for Charlie Kirk's funeral.
All right, gang. You know who Grindr is? There was this breakfast spot where I lived in Lansing, Michigan, that was like so popular, and they were only open for like a very limited window, and their food was fucking incredible. Very creative spot. That they didn't take press. I'd always wonder, like, why aren't you guys on like Diners, Drive-Ins, and Dives? Why haven't you been on this show? Why haven't you been on that show? And he found out they didn't take press because they were already so popular. Every time they were open, the line was already out the door. People already, there was just no point. They just didn't need. That's Grindr. Grindr is like, I don't even want, no, please, not the Republican convention. Like your site is supposed to be excited when you get a little bit of publicity, you get a little bit of extra traffic. Grindr sees a Republican convention coming and panics because it's literally going to be so overwhelmed that their infrastructure can't handle it. So they are the restaurant that is so popular. They want no press. They don't want no extra attention. It's just funny. Like, wow. Like, did we have to, because it hasn't just happened once. It happens literally like a couple times a year when they get together. If it's not the Republican National Convention, it's like CPAC or one. It's always some big conservative festival type thing. I shouldn't say festival, conference, convention thing. Festivals make them sound fun.
And now people like Megyn Kelly and others and people I've seen on this app are saying, well, Jeffrey Epstein wasn't really a pedophile because his victims had gone through puberty.
Y'all heard her say it.
What is even happening?
What is even happening?
Republicans are not okay. Specifically, Republican Trump-supporting white Christian men are not okay. But that's why they think being gay is a choice. Because they are choosing to present as straight. When in reality, as soon as they're
crashing Grindr. Gang, part of it's big city vibes. You know what I mean? Part of it is they're Republicans. They're all out in the rurals and the suburbs, and they don't come into the real cities too much. So when they get to the city, they're like on a field trip. You know, they're excited. They want to explore. They want to see the sights.
We're the best restaurants. We're the hole in the walls that almost nobody, only the locals know about.
Yeah, exactly.
Not that kind of holes in the wall. The
well, they're finding a bunch of holes and a bunch of walls.
You know, and then of course, I've done a few videos over the last couple of days about Scott Galloway and the stuff he's spouting off on. that very strongly implies that the solution to the problems that young men are facing currently in 2025, being addicted to gambling, addicted to gaming, red pilling themselves. The responsibility for the solution to those problems somehow rests with young women.
Damn, Ember, I didn't know that.
They're addicted to porn.
I can't see Ember's comment.
Porn.
Ember's comment is, "Oh, it gets better. The term she substituted comes from a single paper by everyone's favorite pro-pedophile pseudoscientist Ray Blanchard. He's the only one who's ever printed that word in journal." I think Ember's referring to like the sub-classifications of pedophilia by different ages.
With the age groups at a
different
certain
age
age.
bands. Yeah.
They say you're not a pedophile anymore. You're this, blah, blah, blah.
Ember, you should, since I know you're just laying around being lazy with nothing to do, but I was gonna say you should make a short about that. I know you're not busy or anything. You're doing a million things already, but no, that's I didn't. I've heard those terms. I didn't know the scholarship on it, which is weird because obviously human sexuality is one of my areas, but not necessarily that aspect.
I think we can agree the person who is offended that the distinction wasn't made is part of the problem.
Yeah, I will say,
I'm sure Ember would agree that people who, well, you should have said this word instead. That person's part of the problem.
I will say this. So one is this reflection. This situation reminds me of. I was at Penn State when the whole. I was at Penn State and Michigan State for both of those contras. At Penn State for Sandusky, I think it was, and then I was at Michigan State when the situation with the doctor with the gymnast and all that happened. And part of the conversation we needed to have in State College was the distinction that not everybody that's a pedophile is a child predator. I was really fortunate at that time because I was in a biological anthropology lab working on the evolution of human sexuality. We were part of a network of researchers called SexNet, which is like you can think of it as like a listserv, like email kind of chain of sex researchers. And, we exchange resources and talk about papers and projects. It's just like a really uneventful, social group of scholars who study related things. And there was a group of researchers that came out and talked about being attracted to minors. And discussing the fact that they don't act on it, and it is a phenomenon that people are interested in, and there is a sort of belief amongst sex researchers that people study themselves, in the sense of, like, for instance, a lot of the people who are interested in the evolutionary origins of homosexuality are homosexual, and people tend to gravitate to different topics based on their lived experience. And so one of the things we learned in that time is that there is a need, even if you are primarily concerned about stopping the victimization of children, to handle people who are attracted to minors in a certain way that would make it more likely that they seek treatment. And the way our society fails to make that distinction and totally demonizes all of these people, I don't think is helpful. That was something that I just I felt like I learned during that time. I was a student. I was like most people. I was very up in arms about what was going on. And yeah, I had to realize, okay, like, not everybody that feels this way is a monster. And I felt like those people were very brave to come forward and discuss this. And so that was that. And then the other thing is, with regard to those terms, there is a difference between discussing that type of thing academically or from a research perspective than using it as an excuse in a political situation to justify harming children. In other words, as people do study human sexuality, right? That's a huge area of research, and part of that area of research is to understand why people are attracted to certain things. And for most people, that's the normal range. We spend lots of time figuring out what makes men or women more attractive to people that are interested in men or women. And then, so I'm just saying that to say I can totally imagine people in that same community, very legit anthropologists who are college professors and things like that, teaching that, yes, there are people who are attracted to younger people. That is part of the variation in human populations. And it's going to be different based on those age bands. If you are attracted to who we would consider young adults that are of age, they have totally different phenotypes. You're going to be attracted to something totally different than if we're talking about people that are like high school, teenage age. Again, they're in a totally different phase of development than if we're talking about somebody who's attracted to elementary school children. That is a meaningful difference that you can see there being like serious academic discussions. Again, even if our primary concern is just, which it should be stopping the victimization of children, we want to understand those people, right? And so we need to do research. I know people don't like this, but we need to do research so we can understand what those differences are about, what makes those different groups of people tick, and hopefully that leads eventually to, some sort of treatment and situation where we can use that knowledge to minimize the victimization. That does not
or eliminate it.
Yeah, or eliminate, right, exactly. But that does not mean that somebody should be taking those terms and then saying, oh, well, actually, there's this difference, you see, and he wasn't really attracted to children. They were just teenagers. Like, that's crazy. So I just wanted to like put that out there. So if people continue to hear these terms come up, and you continue to hear people talk about this difference, just be able to say like, yeah, okay, there may be differences, and it's one thing for scientists to make those distinctions to try to understand those differences, but are you really saying it's okay if these are just 15-year-olds and not 19-year-olds? Like that's crazy.
Gambling and gaming. Somehow that's the fault of young women. Straight, white, Republican, Christian men are not okay. They are not okay.
Lena said, seek confidential, qualified mental health support, build boundaries and strategies to prevent harm, avoid isolating or hiding it. That's when danger grows. And that was the challenge for us. The challenge for us was, I think you're absolutely right. That is what a lot of those people spoke to themselves, saying they needed to deal with it. But the last part there, avoid isolating or hiding it, that's where society comes in, right? Because if you make something so monstrous that somebody can't reveal it, that's when they're going to isolate or hide it. And that actually increases the risk, not decreases the risk. So we do have to, and maybe now is not the time because, the house is on fire and we're such a mess. But when America really does reckon with this whole Epstein controversy and what happened, and, we're gonna, we're gonna review the game tape and figure out what we need to do going forward. Yeah, we're gonna have to think long and hard about how we treat people with these issues.
But they want women to be trad wives while they're crashing Grindr and trying to get set up as a youth pastor so they can have access to teenage girls in a godly context. It's just like,
Oh no. Okay, so what are your thoughts about sex dolls that are made to look like children? Um, I think that's gross, disgusting, and you should never be able to buy such a thing. Um, if some nut job, no, I shouldn't say nut job, some very creative person told me that that was part of some therapy or something, I don't know. I don't know. I can imagine
I
some sort
think
of,
that should not be part of
but I think that
anybody's
should be,
therapy.
but yeah, but that's definitely not something I think anybody should be able to
Yeah.
buy or consume. Yeah, that's not good. I don't even know, how is that legal.
I don't know that it is. I did know someone who made, I meet a lot of people from interesting backgrounds. He had a company that made sex dolls. And
We didn't make any that look like children. I'm sure.
I didn't have a lot of questions for him other than like, can you show me what one looks like? These were hyper realistic looking, like latex masks or whatever, faces or whatever. And but like the body proportions and all that stuff were of an adult female. And the faces that he showed, I think I saw three different models were adult females. So it was, I feel that it is wrong to use a child as a model for that in any way,
Yeah,
because what happens in the mind, well, you would know this better than me because you study those individuals. I would think you create a justification in their minds that it's okay. It's not like a video game, right? People play video games all the time where they're blowing up towns and shooting at people, and then they log off and they have no interest in doing that in real life,
right.
right? Because it would be a very public thing if they did it, or maybe some people think they can get away with it, but you don't find millions of people thinking they can get away with it, get away with it, and that they should do it. But if you make it a sexual thing for that one person, I would imagine they think, well, now let me devise a way that I can get away with doing this awful thing. I think in a way, having a doll that filled that function for them, right, fill that need, would help them create a justification because
All
they
right,
know,
hang
well,
on.
this
Let's
is a
let's
synthetic
let's
experience.
hear this real quick. This is
So
insane.
I'd like to bring in now Carly Used. She's the CEO and founder of the Child Rescue Coalition, and she's joining us now to talk about this situation. Carly, thanks for joining us.
Yes, thank you for having me.
First of all, please tell us what Child Rescue Coalition does.
Sure. Child Rescue Coalition is a nonprofit organization that focuses on the technology that we're able to build and provide that tracks and leads to the arrest of child predators. So we actually provide this technology free of charge to law enforcement in all 50 states and actually 97 countries around the world. And we have real-time technology that's able to track in real time and show you exactly who's online at that very second, making available for distribution illegal child sexual abuse material, or
Wow.
federally defined as child pornography.
So we're
We're
seeing a graphic now around the world, and all the red spots are popping up, which is telling us where people are trading in, child pornography or sex-related things, correct?
That's right. Those are computers that are online at this very second, and they are showing that they're online at this very second.
Related things, correct?
Gang, I'm seeing a lot of the US. I'm seeing a lot of Western Europe, y'all. I'm just saying the dots is real heavy in the States and real heavy over here, y'all.
Yeah, the
I'm
dots are in the ocean. There's so many over there,
just saying,
spilling over into the water.
That's
wow.
right. Those are computers that are online at this very second, and they are showing that they're committing a felony by being in possession of these illegal sexual abuse
Oh, they were
images
banned
of very
already,
young
Sumami
children.
said.
Well,
Okay.
if you have this technology and
What
you've
was
given it to
banned
law
already?
enforcement to use for
The
free,
the child sex
The
dolls, I
is it
dolls.
guess.
having an
Okay,
Yeah.
good.
impact? Are they reducing the numbers or catching these people?
Yes, so that's what we're most proud of at Child Rescue Coalition. We've directly led to over 12,000 child predators being arrested.
Wow.
because of law enforcement's partnership with us and them able to use our technology to make the identification of those predators.
So how long have child sex dolls been on your radar?
We have known about this problem for many years now. And really,
Wow, I did not
unfortunately,
know
law
about this.
enforcement's hands have been tied because it's not illegal nationally.
So talk to me real fast about why it's an issue to pass a law that says it's not okay to have child sex dolls. Why? Who's on the other side of the debate saying it is
Seriously.
okay, we're okay with that?
Seriously.
There are some organizations that are out there, or people or even predators themselves, that try to make an argument that videos or images or dolls are decreasing predator activity.
Yeah.
And
Okay.
I would just say that our organization, as
It's like,
well
nah,
as
hell to the no.
many psychologists in the field, strongly disagree that this does not decrease it. It actually increases the behavior.
I want to be clear on this. You're telling me.
Yeah, no, so that's
that
where
there
I
are
was going with it. I knew there would be people that, but there's always people in therapies, in psychiatric fields that are doing some crazy stuff, making some crazy arguments. And then you just got to say, produce it. Like, show us the evidence. And it sounds like they ain't got it.
Politicians and legislators who actually are okay with there being child sex dolls and do not want to pass legislation to ban them. Is that what you're saying?
No, so what we found out and what we're trying to resurrect, there was a law in 2018 called the Creeper Act, which would ban the purchasing of these dolls. But that bill did stall. So it almost passed and it completely halted. So what we want to do, and what we're working with a couple of politicians currently, is to resurrect this bill. And there's a politician, congressman in South Carolina, as well as a congressman in Florida, that have two acts that they're currently trying to push. One of them is renamed the Justice Act, which will ban the sale of these dolls.
So Sumami was talking about this
2.0.
This Shane thing. That's what they're talking about. So there's one 2 weeks ago that says Shane bans childlike sex dolls after France threatens action. I think that's what Sumami is referring to.
Shein has imposed a total ban on sex dolls in its marketplace and suspended the adult products category. That followed outrage in France over news it had sold sex dolls with childlike appearance. French Finance Minister Roland Lescure threatened Monday to ban the Chinese online retailer in France if it ever sold such products again. The company said it imposed strict sanctions on merchants and strengthened controls by extending a keyword blacklist to prevent would-be sellers from circumventing its rules. France's Directorate General for Competition spotted the dolls on the website, along with several other pornographic items, such as adult-looking sex dolls. The consumer watchdog had reported the matter to judicial authorities.
So what's
France's
crazy
High
is that,
Commissioner-
like, even this is being used really as a cudgel to stop people from protesting labor exploitation. God, everything is freaking evil. All right, y'all, I'm gonna let him wrap this up just because my one black friend's got to get out of here.
And they get upset when women say they're going to choose the bear.
They get upset when women choose the bear. Exactly.
Good Lord. I'd choose the bear all day long.
I'm glad he understands.
I don't know what the answer to these circumstances is, but I think a good place to start would be taxing the ever-loving shit out of billionaires and churches and
There you go.
corporations, especially the social media platforms
There you
that set
go.
up their algorithms to make it so easy to red pill young men because they're dumb and their frontal cortexes haven't fully formed. But they still need to take responsibility for who they are and what they choose to consume and who they choose to become. But wow. Anyway, it's Sunday. tomorrow starts another week, I guess. And we will this week get the full floor vote in the House.
Yeah, this is from last week or whatever. So yeah, I agree with the MAGA men are not okay, but I just love the way he really did tie it to this Christian nationalist movement, and that and again, you see Megyn Kelly. Listen, y'all, there was another social media post, and I cannot find it. Maybe you sent it to me. Somebody, no, I don't think you sent it to me. Somebody else sent it to me.
Tell me.
But it was basically like, it was a woman coming out and being like, let's stop pretending this whole Epstein thing is a big deal. Let's not pretend we weren't all fucking 45-year-olds when we were 15, yada, yada, yada. So it's just like, it's so deep in their culture. Again, I think that is why they make all those excuses for their pastors and shit. A lot of them have internalized that same shit. Maybe a lot of them have even like participated in a lot of that stuff. So they've got that kind of internalized trauma, like not wanting to revisit, you know, their own sexual history and maybe acknowledging that some of it wasn't okay. But however you slice it or however you get there, they're always defending this stuff, whether it's defending the pastor that's been caught being a predator, their churches not doing anything about them finding out that their pastor is a predator. Listen, when they elected Trump, this is the lies we have to stop letting people tell to our faces. They knew he was best friends with Epstein. They knew he was a convicted rapist.
That was well publicized.
Yeah, they knew this stuff with this accusation of this girl.
Just, I gotta say this. Just look at the way Ghislaine Maxwell's being treated. Look at the way she's being treated.
Oh yeah.
If you wanted to know if something was going on, and you didn't have all of the data, but you kind of wanted a barometer, just look at the way she's being treated. She helped. She's convicted of it. She helped and she trafficked human beings that were under.
And she assaulted them. I mean, she participated in the assaults according to the victims, and I'm gonna listen to them.
she is guilty of that. And yet here comes the red carpet.
Yeah.
Excuse me. Is there anything we can do to make you more comfortable after you've made the lives of other people very difficult for them?
And how many pastors are not preaching about this? How many apologists are not talking about this? I mean, again, it's just silence because, again, they know they're on the side of there not being accountability for these things. They're on the side of child marriages and lowering the age of consent. I mean,
interestingly,
it's so wild.
I do wonder if I was elected president and I said, I'm going to remove the tax exemption for religious organizations if you don't, for the next 4 Sunday meetings or whichever Saturday meetings, if you're a Seventh-day Adventist, if you don't preach for at least 45 minutes per service on safety, protecting children and other adults from being sexually abused, I'm going to pull it.
No, they'd
you gotta
never
prove
do
to me
that.
you did. I'm going to pull it. How many churches would do it, and how many arrests would there be on those 4 Sundays?
Yeah. No, they'd fight that tooth and nail. I think they just need to be taxed, period. I don't even think there needs to be a conversation, debate, or argument about it. They just
as you know, I have my problems with that because they receive donations. If they sell a coffee, tax the crap out of it. But if it's my mom just paying her tithe or whatever, I don't know that needs to get taxed because it's a donation. But again, t-shirt, you sell a t-shirt, sell coffee, a book.
Oh no, I'm taxing the donations. Is that why they don't get taxed? Because the taxes are donations? I don't care at all.
Taxes are donations.
Nah. Okay, if you're a nonprofit, for nonprofits, that's fine. Churches, nah. Churches get taxed. Churches are making
some of them are nonprofits.
Then I maybe I don't tax the nonprofit wing, but nah, I think I tax it anyway. I think if
the store, let's tax it. They got a store in there. Let's tax it.
Yeah, no, we
Forget
disagree on this
Jesus
policy. That's
saying
fine. But
you're
no,
making merchandise and
I'm
by
taxing
people. Forget all
everything.
that.
I'm taxing
Huh?
everything. I would tax everything. Yeah, I don't care if it's a
My
donation.
for the healthcare plan that I developed, we pretty much tax everything.
Yeah,
You'd even pay taxes on groceries finally, and you don't do that on a lot of groceries now. If it's not fully cooked foods, like pre-prepared foods that are served hot, you'd be paying taxes on all your groceries
well,
because
if
we
we're
need the
paying,
money
if
for the
we're paying
plan.
taxes on our groceries, then churches need to be paying taxes on everything. That's all I'm saying. Plus,
Yeah.
you got to remember, I'm taxing them because I don't like them. They're not. I would get rid. I might shut down the churches. Honestly, I don't even know why they need to be allowed any sort of government protection at all. I mean, just have a building, meet or whatever. I don't know. I'm so done with churches. I don't know why
Ag-
they get all these legal
Again, and
privileges.
I'm not trying to be crass. This is the season where we're going to see The Grinch That Stole Christmas. One of the most endearing parts of that movie, the TV show, I'm thinking of the animated one from like the 70s or whatever, is that at the end, after all their presents were taken away, they still gathered together and sang Bahu Dore, right? They still celebrated being together. They still celebrated the Christmas season.
Yeah, and
I
you don't
think
need
you
like an
still have people
institutional
coming
church to do
together
that.
and
Yeah.
celebrating. And if it's, though obviously I think, you know, a lot of the Bible just isn't true. I can point out certain sections. It's just not true. It just didn't happen that way, even though it says it did. Um, I think there's something beautiful about people gathering together for a common purpose and being peaceful and loving. I think that's wonderful. And that happens at sporting events, right? You
I was
do
gonna
that
say
with your
if
own
that's what
team.
you want, then you should definitely want to close the churches because they're not really good at that. Actually, they're
Some are
only
not,
they're.
pocket
I think
locker.
most of them
Some are
are.
not.
Even the ones that are good at it, they're only good at it because they're good at distinguishing themselves from others. In other words, they're good at drawing. They're good at bringing the in group together, but they do that by distinguishing that in group from the out group. So they
And I
do
think
it.
they have to realize how big the in group is.
They do
Good
it
them.
they do it by like what I consider antisocial means. All right, so Jester gave us a $2 super chat. Says even games draw a hard line at children. They sure do. Appreciate the $2 super chat, Jester. Thank you so
Thank
much.
you, Jester.
Also, Jester, I think you play Dominion, and we have it in our virtual headquarters setup. So we should check that out at some point. Also, I was just gonna say that I'm not trying to be mean either. I think if I so I do think all the churches should be taxed. We should tax everything. When I say
Mhm.
we should close the churches, I think we should close the churches. The reason is this though. It's not about being anti people's freedom or whatever they want to congregate and get together and share pie. It's because we normally shut down fraudulent organizations. That's what we do. When somebody's running a fraud and they're taking other people's money and they're promising them goods and services they can't deliver and they're lying to people, we shut it down. We say
That's
you're not
true.
allowed to scam people. Scamming
That's
people
true.
is a crime. So that's my case. All right, y'all, we gotta get out of here. You want to give us your closing thoughts, my one black friend?
Um, Keep your eyes open and be someone's hero. If you can rescue them out of a bad situation, please do so.
All right, and let's do a social experiment. Ask your local churches this holiday season to donate without any advertising, without any labeling, without any proselytizing. Tell them they must just give their donations anonymously with no public recognition at all. See if they go for it. I have a very strong feeling they will not, but I'd love for some people to prove me wrong and tell me that they found a church that would go for it. In the meantime, Christianity has to go down with Trump, gang. That's the message. That's the movement. We're unapologetically atheist, or we're not afraid of our own shadows. And we want to see a world where our lives are not dominated by religion, and we want to see that world happen now so that we can enjoy it. So yeah, let's remind folks, spread the word. Christianity's got to go down with Trump. Love you guys. As always, be good to yourselves.